Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell, lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and when we originally recorded this episode, I was sitting side by side with Lee Cockerell in Anaheim, California. But something happened. My microphone didn't work. We've never had that happen before. It was such a good episode, I didn't want you to lose it. So this is what I've done. I am re-recording my parts and leaving Lee's parts as is original in their form as it was recorded. So this is it. It's a bit of an odd episode because here I am now sitting at home, but I was sitting next to Lee Cockerell in Anaheim, and that's what you'll hear when Lee talks. You'll hear Lee as it was. We were sitting in a restaurant at a hotel. So that's it. We were together in Anaheim. And Lee was there to speak at a company called GST. It was a great presentation, and I'm going to circle back to that topic. But Lee, I went to Disneyland while I was here. I know you didn't, but I got to visit Disneyland, and it's great. It's wonderful. Happiest place on earth. If you want to go to Disneyland like I did, you should probably call our friends at Magical Vacation Planner. You can reach them at 407-442-2694. The very first time I went to Disneyland was with Magical Vacation Planner. So I thought about that when I was there. Okay, now back to the presentation. Lee had a couple of special guests. So first I was there. Lindsay Barnes, who works for us, she was there, and Rachel Hutter, the Executive Vice President of Operations of Disney Studios. Lee, she told me some stories about you. Well, we were sitting there together while you were up there speaking, and I always find it interesting because I read your books, I talk to you, I hear your stories, I read the Main Street Leader, and then I hear stories from real people about you. People that worked with you that tell stories. I really liked some of the things she had to say. And maybe you haven't heard this one story before. She said that when you became executive vice president of operations at Walt Disney World, you told people that you wanted to do a Q&A in front of the cast, and they should send in questions. And someone sent you an email saying, well, of course you want questions sent in advance so you can vet the questions and only answer the ones you want. Okay, so Rachel said that you then had all of the questions printed out, cut into strips, and placed on the tables. And you started the presentation by saying, I know some of you sent questions in, but we had a complaint that said, if I pick questions, it's not a true Q&A, and I'm avoiding questions. So I've spread the questions around. Ask them if you want to. Otherwise, ask me anything you want. And she said that for her, it was such an impactful thing to see a leader do because it showed that you weren't afraid to talk about the tough stuff. You weren't just putting on a show about what leadership is, that you wanted to ask real questions, hard questions, and you wanted to give answers right in front of the cast.
That's true. I wanted to do that because I wanted to get up to speed and everybody know who I was because I was coming from Disneyland Paris and I had not been part of the team in Walt Disney World, and I thought that'd be a good way for me to get a list of things I needed to be working on and to listen to them and to them to know I was listening to them. So I got a lot of crazy questions and a lot of good ones, and a lot of ones I wish they hadn't asked, but they did, and I answered them. The lesson there for me and for them, I think, was there's no question you can't answer. Because one answer might be, I don't know, I'll get back to you. And I remember one guy stood up, said, what do you think about Michael Eisner saying that a bunch of monkeys could run the parks? I said, well, I didn't know, I never heard that, but if he did, he shouldn't have. That's all I know. May be true, may not be true. Somebody else brought up complaining about giving benefits to gay couples. I gave him my standard talk, it's none of your business, so just don't worry about it. Everybody's equal and everybody matters, and we're going to take care of everybody, and we don't care where you went to church, who you sleep with. I got a lot of mileage out of those sessions of people. People started calling me and telling me things and things I needed to know and tell me what I needed to fix. So that was a quick start of getting the word out to really thousands of people, because when you're new, it takes a long time before you come into contact with a lot of those people, or you may not, or they don't know who you are. And when they hear you, and especially hard questions, that's when they go, maybe this is different. So it was fun. I think everybody ought to do that. Ask me some question you think I can't answer, if I can. No matter what it is, everybody can do that. Tell the truth. The truth is a pretty powerful thing, and when you start telling the truth, it's amazing how you get everybody on board, and then they trust you, and trust is everything. That's all we got, and they can tell Lee without getting in trouble. Because I always told them, I'll keep your confidence. I won't ever get you in trouble. I won't ever use your name. Just tell me what the issue is, and I'll get into it. It was good.
Why was it important for you to do that first one? When you read that email from someone that said, oh, you're just going to pick the questions, why was it important for you to change that perception?
Because I don't want anybody to think I'm manipulating them or that it's all already set up and he's only going to take the soft questions, because that's what most people do. I just know that that's the way it is. People have to know that the hard ones are going to pop out. I think it's all good for all leaders to understand. You better be ready to answer questions today about how you treat people, about benefits, about gay, about lesbian. Somebody said, lead out loud. Don't let people try to figure out what you think about things and what your philosophy is. Tell them right out front. And I talk a lot about it. Racism, bigotry, those kinds of things. You better not say it in front of me. Just make sure we understand everybody matters. I'm not interested in your opinion of black people or Muslims or gay people. All I'm interested in is performance. You do the job, I don't care where you came from. If you don't do the job, then we'll deal with that separately. Because the other stuff really doesn't matter. Who cares? If they do their job, that's all we hired them for.
Until I told you this story, did you realize that, or had you thought through that other leaders within Disney were watching that example?
I don't know if I thought about that, but yeah, I was aware. Here's Lee, the new guy. There were a lot of people who weren't happy to see me show up, because I hadn't worked for Disney before. So I knew there was an undercurrent of resistance. Well, we got it all out there. Be clear, some people had been there 30 years and all of a sudden Lee got the job. And I knew how they felt because it happened to me in my own career. I didn't get a job once at Marriott. And the guy who got it was waiting at the door when I came in on Monday morning. He said, Lee, how do you feel about me getting the job instead of you? And I said, it's okay. He said, do you think you're being paid right? Is there anything that's a problem? I'll look forward to working with you. I said, no problem. It's no issue. And I got the job a year later. If you don't get it, at least be nice. Then you might get it. Don't cause a scene.
One thing I should point out is that we're closing in on 600 episodes. And during that time, maybe 5 times in 600 episodes, almost 600, we're at maybe 590, only those 5 times has Lee known what we're going to talk about beforehand. The story that I told about Rachel Hutter, Lee didn't know that. She just told me a couple hours ago, and then I sat down with Lee. And by the way, that's by design. Lee said, I don't want to know what we're going to talk about. So, Lee, why is it you prefer that we do it that way?
Well, I think that you need to be able to talk about your real beliefs and not have time to practice the answer. I just think it's just more authentic. I think people say, "Well," and your answers will be what you think, not what you planned to say. Here we are, and you just say it. And it comes out of your head, and if you don't know, you can't get ready. And I think in your life, you should stay ready. Stay ready with your values. Stay ready with what you believe in. And if you already know that, you'll answer the questions properly. You won't have to get a PR firm to help you with the spin. Here's how you need to handle it, Lee. Don't say anything about gay people or lesbians. Oh, don't say it. No, I don't care. I mean, it's because being authentic has really become a big deal today because employees don't trust leadership. They don't believe anybody's telling the truth. You got to work hard to let people know where you stand, what you feel, and what your expectations are. If you do, you get better results.
All right, one more thing from Rachel Hutter. She said that stood out was the Main Street Diary. She said what impressed her about the Main Street Diary was you were willing to every week tell cast members what you believed, why you did things the way you did, why you made decisions. And she said that she felt then, and it feels now, that it's rare for leaders to always put it out there, what you think, rather than just play it safe. So why were you willing to always be so candid in the Main Street Diary?
Well, I think the candidness over time creates your reputation that you're telling the truth and they can trust you. And that's what I wanted to make sure that, and it was controversial when I started because Orlando Sentinel newspaper printed something about Disney and I wrote an article in there and said, here they are again, that newspaper downtown, they don't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I got a couple of notes from Al Weiss saying, this is great. my paper was getting more views than the Sentinel was. and and people like to see their name in there, so I put people's names in. I used it for training. I used it for appreciation. It was just, and I didn't even know the power of that thing till later after I retired. People wrote me and said, "Oh, I love that. I miss it. I miss that. My name was in it. Can you find a copy? I lost mine. I want a copy to show to my mother." What do we like more than our name showing up in the paper? Yeah, we all like that. Everybody talks about being authentic. Tell the truth. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's as authentic as you can be.
Yeah.
Judge Judy says, when you tell the truth, you don't have to remember the story.
Right.
It'll always be the same. I think that's true. Nobody believes anything today on the news. Everything is spin. Everything has got a little twist. A lot of things are left out. A lot of things are exaggerated. I would say today, most people don't trust any communication that's coming their way. Tell the truth is one that really sticks with people. That's different. Nobody ever said that before. And there's low risk. I think too many people think there's high risk of speaking up. There's no high. The chances you're getting fired for speaking up is like nothing. In fact, you may get promoted for being somebody who speaks up and tells it the way it is. People over worry about that, I think. And that's why most people don't speak up. I think everybody in your company has things they want you to know that they're not telling you. And you're making bad decisions because you don't know. If you knew, you make better decisions. I have to do it before they do it. As somebody said, before people buy your stuff, they buy you. It's an interesting how you set yourself apart by telling the truth. It's pretty sad, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Pretty sad.
Since we've talked about the Main Street Diary, I will say that the Main Street Diary was the inspiration for the Main Street Leader, which is a monthly newsletter that Lee writes now. It's cheaper than like 2 cups of coffee that you might buy. $10 a month, $19 a month for the Main Street Leader Plus. It's for any organization, any role. Do you feel the Main Street Leader carries on what you started with the Main Street Diary?
Well, obviously, the audience is different, but I think it has advice and ways to do things that are quite valuable that a lot of leaders could learn from. All of us have new ideas. Where do we get them? We might read a book. We might go to a movie. We might meet somebody. So having a steady flow of good ideas from Disney aspect and from the hospitality business, I think can be a good thing for anybody, for any company, because every company's got the same problem. They got to hire people, keep them, train them, develop them. That's it. I don't care what company you're in. Everybody's looking for good people and how to keep them. And that newsletter we do now gives you lots of great advice on how to get your employees committed to wanting to be there, not having to be.
In Lee's presentation today, he told the audience that what you read today sometimes is the answer to a problem you have 2 years from now. And that could be the Main Street Leader for you. If you read it today, it could solve a problem in 2 years. And you can find it at mainstreetleader.com. And I know this was a bit of a quirky episode with me recording in the studio at home and you hearing Lee's answers live in Anaheim, but I hope it worked. I wanted to do it this way rather than scrap the episode because I thought it was that good. I loved what Lee had to say, so I wanted to still bring this episode to you. Until next week, go out and create magic for others.